I'm Madison Timmons.
And I'm JT Timmons.
And we're the co-creators of the hit podcast, The Most Haunted City on Earth.
Look, we love ghosts, but we also love true crime. So we here at Haunted City Studios decided to create From One to Wicked.
A true crime podcast with a killer twist. We'll investigate,
discuss,
then rate
the most brutal and devious crimes and the monsters who commit them.
On a scale from 1 to wicked. So sit back and kill some time with us.
And remember, next time you're walking down the street,
you might just be passing a perfect wicked 10. Hello and welcome back for another episode of From One to Wicked. My name is Madison Timmons.
And I'm JT Timmons.
And today we have a very special beginning to a new series for y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is going to be wild.
It's going to be a wild next few weeks, y'all. So if you didn't know, we have another podcast called The Most Haunted City on Earth. And with my co-host, Chris Susie, we have created the Savannah Paranormal Museum, which will be opening hopefully in March as a soft opening. But with that, when you are, collecting a bunch of haunted objects, sometimes you stumble upon really interesting pieces. And that's exactly what happened. We just happened to come across a stack of letters that were all pinned by various serial killers. Yeah. Including Dennis Rader, aka BTK, who we're going to be covering today. So it's really fascinating. And we're going to be basically for the next few weeks going through these letters and doing episodes where we rank the various serial killers who we have letters for. And then at the end, we will attempt to read these letters because sometimes they have horrible penmanship. But nonetheless, I haven't read any of them yet.
Neither have I. My mother has. And she was very lit about it. She said his penmanship is rough, so bear with us as I attempt to read it at the end of the episode. But we have 2 letters to various people. So very excited for this. I've never actually read a serial killer letter, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
so
there's
a first time for everything when you're a twisted fuck.
True.
Yeah.
Very true. Before we get into that, though, we do have another surprise that was, we were told, is going to be a very horrific scene, at least for us.
Yeah.
And so Chris gave us this little book
that he also got in his big
true
buy.
Crime
bulk
thing.
So he bought all the paranormal stuff. The true crime stuff just came with it. That's really what happened. So that is it. So basically, we were told to go into this book. This is the book. It has an upside down cross in it, quite ornate.
Very ornate.
And we were told to turn to the last page. All right, and live react to it on camera. So I don't know. We don't know anything about it, so we're doing that right now.
Supposedly there's blood. That's all I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you know something. I did not know that. So
yeah.
Here we go. All right. So we open it up and it's just straight black. All right. Yeah. So I guess it's the second to last page. All right. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh. Yep. Just
That's
a ton of blood over what looks like a satanic spell in a sketch on page 82. That's lovely.
Oh my, I don't know if that's a sketch
and
there's
a
sigil.
page. There's a page ripped off. 83's scissored off.
Wow.
There's actually, it looks like there's a couple pages that are gone.
Ripped out.
But yeah,
it's like bloody smears. Like it's almost like somebody pricked their finger and smudged it onto the pages.
So I got to go wash my hands. We will be back momentarily, just after this break. 1 second.
Because we don't know who this person is and we don't know what they had. Definitely. But yeah, that is genuinely horrifying. And like we said, we don't know exactly who this came from. Something we're going to attempt to do is we like to utilize a method called the Estes method, which essentially you take somebody who's a bit more sensitive to the paranormal and you pretty much just put them in full deprivation in a way. And so you cover their eyes, you give them noise canceling headphones. And when you're doing this, all of their headphones are hooked up to a spirit box, which is
clean hands.
Yes, which is basically just like a broken radio. And so it'll scan up and down the radio waves. And a lot of times through that, when people are asking questions and the person who's listening to the spirit box aren't aware of what what the person's asking, you can get really fascinating little tidbits on things.
Maddie and I do it all the time because we have the connection of husband and wife. So we, due to that connection, we often get really, really, really interesting stuff. When I'm asking the question and she's already a sensitive, she's able to hear the spirits and tell me what they're saying.
Yeah, we've gotten really fascinating information and confirmations on various things before. So we'll probably utilize that and some other objects that we got in future Estes methods. And that'll be over on our Most Haunted City on Earth podcast. So if that's something you're looking to see and explore a little bit, then check us out over there.
Yeah, I got to get a new chair. This chair is so... my God, it's just broken. I went up. I look so short. I'm already short, so...
But you're just slowly sinking.
Just sinking. It's all good.
Okay.
It's all good.
You don't need to be tall to be listening.
I don't love serial killers. I love how interested I am in Dennis Rader. Yeah. So let's jump into it.
All right. So... Dennis Lynn Rader was born on March 9th, 1945. So would that make him, a Taurus?
No, he's a Pisces.
Pisces.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yep. You're 100% correct. Interesting. Is an American serial killer who confessed to murdering at least 10 people in Wichita and Park City, Kansas between 1974 and 1991.
There are new developments in a case that terrorized the central U.S. for decades. Investigators believe the BTK Killer may have had more victims than we first knew. Emily Akena now and what they found in his backyard this week.
He's known as the BTK Killer, or Bind, Torture, Kill, who in 2005 admitted to brutally murdering 10 people near Wichita, Kansas.
I had many, what I call them, projects.
But tonight, investigators say 78-year-old Dennis Rader could be responsible for 2 more killings.
Do you think the number could be even higher?
It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Oklahoma's Osage County Sheriff's Office recently unearthed new evidence at the serial killer's former home, including victims' personal effects.
A pair of pantyhose that are tied in a knot.
Investigators believe Rader used those pantyhose to bind a victim's hands or feet together. Perhaps, they say, Cynthia Kinney, a 16-year-old who was last seen at a laundromat in Pawhuska, Oklahoma in 1976. Rader writing in a journal entry around the same time that laundromats were a good place to watch victims and dream.
We read from cover to cover his journals, and he left all kinds of clues in there.
Rader's daughter has been volunteering as an active agent, Carrie Rawson even visiting her father for the first time in 18 years as part of those efforts.
Was there anything that you wanted to get off your chest after nearly 2 decades?
I could have gone in there sad. I could have gone in there, shell-shocked. But I went in there very focused on trying to get answers for Cynthia Kinney's family.
Authorities say advancing DNA and GPS technology has helped progress their multi-agency investigation, but they also continue to receive tips, even following up on a new lead today. Rader's attorney is not commenting tonight.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.
He adopted the moniker BTK, which stands for Bind, Torture, Kill. And although he occasionally killed or attempted to kill men and children, Rader usually targeted women specifically. His victims were often bound, sometimes with household items, and others suffocated with a plastic bag or manually strangled with a ligature.
He's to me, he's always been the most animalistic, hands down.
He really was.
Gacy, obviously, right there. But this person, to be able to take out entire families like he did, you have to be a full-blown animal.
He was a monster.
He's
truly.
a monster.
Like a living monster.
He is a monster.
He is, because he's not dead yet,
No.
but unfortunately. Anyways, So his victims were often bound in that way, but in addition to his violent acts, Rader also stole keepsakes from his female victims, including underwear, driver's license, and personal items, which you see with a lot of serial killers. They'll take little trophies and keep them for their own sick fantasies.
Yeah.
But
Maybe after this, I should write him and tell him his score.
whoa, that's
He's
interesting.
super narcissistic, so
He is.
he'd be into that. He'd be like, "Oh yeah."
And here's the thing: you'll hear this as we go through my research. He loves writing people.
Yeah.
He loves it, and so I wouldn't be surprised if he
All
responded.
right, I'll do it. I'll do it for y'all and for us.
But yes, but speaking of letters, he frequently sent taunting letters to the police and media outlets, meticulously detailing his crimes.
Back in June, it was right about that time that I got that first letter that's, out of nowhere. Dear sir, first a woman went to the police with serious complaints about a destructive religious cult, and they did not even take a report. Second, we believe that the men who killed Dolores Davis probably killed Vicki Lynn Wegerly in September 1986. Third, he probably wants to go back to his original state, not of original sin as before baptism, but of his original state of being pure, holy, and well thought of. And he can't because of a sexual addiction. God keep you in his living, scratched out, loving care. So, of course, I went to the sheriff's office and I say, hey, look at this. What is this? And, they kind of took the position, well, this is a high-profile case. There's a lot of nuts out there following this. It really doesn't mean anything. And I kind of said, well, okay, I suppose it doesn't. I had to suffer through losing her under the most unspeakable conditions. Then I had to just sit back quietly and accept that, well, you're not ever going to get any other answers. And that's when I finally drew the line and I said, no, this won't cut it. I need answers. And it was a lot of that turmoil and a lot of that anger and frustration and resentment that ultimately moved me to start putting some of this on paper, but at least turn it around to where there could be some positive come out of that. There was an order form in the book, and the order form had a P.O. box. So here's this letter that shows up. Dear Mr. Davis, first of all, thanks so much for writing your book, The Shadow of Evil, Where is God in a Violent World? I'm so grateful that you expressed many of the same emotions that I've experienced when confronted with evil and violence. Even though I've never had a loved one killed by violence, except for the war, we did have a son who sustained 2 brutal assaults after he was targeted by a gang. Also, I suffered emotional and spiritual devastation when I was the victim of a cult. Personally, I believe that the same man did kill Maureen Hedge, Vicki Wegerly, and your mother. There seems to be similarities among all of these cases, and of course, differences too. We'll call the serial killer the Phantom of Northern Sedgwick, again misspelled, County. I'm sure your mother was terrified. Finally, we will pray that you get some answers someday, but even if you don't, you've written a good book and will help many people with it. My heart pounded during the part where you went back on the anniversary of your mother's death to sit and wait for the killer. It's too bad that Unsolved Mysteries didn't accept this story. It would have been an interesting one and would have adapted well to the screen. Bless you, a taxpayer, North Sedgwick County.
because he thought he was above the law. He thought he was smarter than everybody in the room. So that's why he felt like he could get away for it. Yes, I know.
This is what a Dennis Rader looks like. Dennis Rader letter looks like.
That's a tongue twister.
Dennis Rader letter.
But so going in a bit more about Dennis Rader. So Dennis Rader, like we said, was born on March 9th, 1945 in Pittsburgh, Kansas, not to be mistaken for the other Pittsburgh. And he was the eldest of 4 sons to bookkeeper Dorothea May Rader and or Nay Cook. So September 17th through 1925 to October 14th to 2007 is how long his mother lived. And Kansas gas station worker William Elvin Rader, who lived from November 21st, 1922 to December 27th, 1996. So they were alive for the majority of his crimes, and his mother was alive to see him get arrested, which I think is interesting. And I wish she would have made more documentation of how she felt about it.
Well, she's not here to entertain us.
No, but I want to at least... No, of course, but I want to know...
Her son's an animal.
Okay, but you get what I mean, though, where I'm like, I would love to know what a mother would think when they find out their child...
I'm right there with you. I'm just not surprised that she didn't.
I mean, his daughter did, so...
Yeah, I guess.
Anywho, I digress. So from a young age, Rader harbored sadistic sexual fantasies about torturing trapped and helpless women.
What?
Yeah, I know.
He did?
Shocking.
No.
I know. He also exhibited zoo sadism, which basically is torturing, killing, and hanging small animals.
What?
I know. Like
he did?
Wild. Really,
that's incredible.
Really wild for a serial killer.
They never do that.
They never do that. But Rader acted out sexual fetishes for voyeurism, autoerotic asphyxiation, and cross-dressing. He often spied on female neighbors while dressed in women's clothing, including women's underwear that he had stolen. He gives very Kill Bill, or not Kill Bill, Buffalo Bill. Yeah, he gives Buffalo Bill vibes.
Yeah.
But he also masturbated with ropes or other bindings around his arms and neck.
Okay. He really liked the circulation cutting.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
So years later, during his cooling off periods between murders, which is a part of the criteria to be considered a serial killer, you have to have cooling off periods. But Rader would take pictures of himself wearing women's clothes and a female mask while bound. So when he couldn't get his fix, I guess he just did it to himself.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
That is interesting, actually.
Yeah. He later confessed that he was pretending to be his victims as part of his sexual fantasy. Despite his disturbing tendencies, Rader managed to keep his proclivities well concealed and was widely regarded in his community as normal, polite, and well-mannered, which is what makes it so horrifying.
Yeah.
Because he is...
part of the church.
Yeah, he was the epitome of hiding in plain sight.
Them eyebrows, though.
Them eyebrows
say otherwise.
They do. They do say otherwise. They look evil, bro. There's lies hiding in those brows. But after graduating from Wichita Heights High School, Rader enrolled at Kansas Wesleyan University. However, he struggled academically and eventually dropped out after only 1 year. And like a bunch of other serial killers, he subsequently served in the United States Air Force. They always go to the military.
God, I do.
And from that,
well, I feel like they probably aren't fully developed serial killers yet at that moment. And so they're like, there's something wrong with me. And everyone tells me that the military is going to straighten me up.
Right.
And it just doesn't.
It never does.
It's not a cure for serial killing.
Unfortunately. But from 1966 to 1970, he was in the Air Force. And upon his discharge, Rader relocated to Park City, which was a suburb of Wichita. There, he found employment in the meat department of IGA supermarkets. Because where else would a serial killer go than butchering cows and pigs? But
that actually makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, and his mother worked at the IGA as a bookkeeper.
Okay.
So Rader married Paula Dietz on May 22nd, 1971. They had 2 children, Carrie and Brian. And after attending Butler County Community College in El Dorado, where he earned an associate's degree in electronics engineering in 1973, Rader enrolled at Wichita State University and graduated in 1979 with a Bachelor of Science degree majoring in administration of justice.
Huh.
You'll see throughout all of this, he very much so wanted to learn what he was up against so that he could work around the system.
Yeah.
So think about that.
I mean, he was an organized serial killer.
Yeah. Well, think about it. A serial killer specifically getting a degree in administration of justice.
Yeah.
He wants to know exactly how it works.
Yeah. No,
You know?
absolutely. I've always seen him in between, Gacy and Ed Kemper.
Oh,
where he's
Absolutely.
he's not smarter than Ed Kemper. I don't know if any serial killer is smarter than Ed Kemper. He's like a prodigy.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gacy was just like your average intellect. And so
Right.
I've always kind of seen him as a really smart serial killer.
He was definitely not dumb. He just was not book smart in the way of like academics. He was smart in the way of getting what he wanted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like a good smart serial killer.
Exactly. So Rader initially worked as an assembler for the Coleman Company, which was an outdoor supply company. And just remember that company because that'll come into play later on.
Okay.
So later from 1974 to 1988, he was employed at the local Wichita office of ADT Security Services.
Wow.
Because he wanted to know how the security systems worked so he could break into people's houses.
Wow. Everything he did was for his killing, his desire, his passion.
Yeah, he installed security alarms,
Yeah.
which not only meant he got to go into people's homes and stake them out, he
Yeah.
could pick victims that way,
Yeah.
and he knew how to get past their security systems.
Dude.
Just imagine how horrifying that is. Like,
It's terrifying.
that is just unbelievable. But ironically, many of his clients were concerned homeowners who sought security from his own crimes as BTK. So they were getting security systems because they were scared of BTK by BTK.
And he's installing them?
Yes.
Wow.
And they had no idea. Imagine. Wild.
That is wild.
But yeah, so in the 1990s, Rader held the position of field operations supervisor for the Wichita area during the federal census. So that also meant he got to go to people's homes because he was working for the census.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
He knew what he was doing.
He did. And in May 1991, Dennis Rader took on the roles of a dog catcher and compliance officer in Park City. And neighbors described him as sometimes overzealous and extremely strict, particularly in his interactions with single women. He was known to take pleasure in bullying and harassing them.
Wow.
Which I'm like, did nobody think that was odd? Like,
probably. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much bullying / harassment or what type it was, but back then times were different.
I guess so.
You know,
but
before the Me Too movement, there were I could see that passing a little bit,
right?
A little bit.
So 2 women he had stalked in the 1980s and another in the mid-1990s filed restraining orders against him, with one woman even changing her address to avoid him.
Oh, boy.
But he wasn't a suspicion to anybody. He was a nice church man.
Mm-hmm.
So a neighbor reported that Rader had killed her dog for no apparent reason. And Rader was also a member of Christ Lutheran Church in Wichita and was once elected president of the church council. And additionally, he served as a Cub Scout leader and frequently used his association with the Scouts as an alibi when the BTK killings were discovered.
I have known everything that you have told me up to this point except for the dog killing.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that.
I mean, not surprising, though.
He just killed a random dog?
Probably.
Wow.
He probably said it was rabid,
Yeah.
and that was how he got away with it. But the lady was not having that. You would not have that if somebody just killed our dog.
No, they would be dead in a heartbeat.
It's true. But so starting out our timeline officially, we start with January 15th, 1974, where all hell broke loose in Wichita. So that was when, at the age of 28, Dennis Rader brutally murdered 4 members of the Otero family in Wichita.
Yeah.
The victims were Joseph Otero Sr., a 38-year-old father, Julia Maria Julie Otero, a 33-year-old mother, Joseph Joey Otero II, a 9-year-old son, and Josephine Josie Otero, an 11-year-old daughter.
I've always said this, like my mom and I, and like Maddie and I too. We've talked obviously about Dennis Rader separately, and I've always just I've just been blown away by a person who goes in, plans an attack on a whole family, destroys an entire family after they eat dinner and stuff. Like,
yeah, it's just wild.
There's just nothing there. There's so like some of these serial killers, there might be something there, right? They might feel bad after, or they might be acting like they feel bad. He's just an animal.
No, he liked the control of deciding, or he in his mind probably thought he was playing God, because he let some people live and he let others die.
Yeah.
And so that definitely happened in this case as well.
If you're the all-American family, Dennis Rader is your worst fucking nightmare. That's what it is.
It's really true. And so the bodies of the victims were discovered by the family's 3 older children who were at school during the killings. And after his arrest in 2005, Rader confessed to the Otero murders. So it took all that time to even realize that he had done it. But he claimed that he initially targeted the family 2 months prior when he noticed Julie leaving to take her children to school and followed them. So on the morning of January 15th, Rader cut the phone lines and entered the Otero residence when Joey opened the back door to let the family dog out. It was revealed that Rader had worked with Julie at the Coleman Equipment Company, so he knew her.
Yeah.
And Rader, a wanted man in California, ordered the Otero family to lie on the living room floor at gunpoint before he led them into a bedroom and bound them with rope he had prepared.
Yeah.
So he then killed 2 of their young children, leaving 3 older siblings to discover the bodies when they returned home from school. So Joseph and Joey lay on the floor while Julie and Josie were on the bed. Joseph and Julie's wrists and feet were restrained. Joseph's head was covered with a plastic bag, which Rader then secured with ropes. After Joseph managed to chew a hole in the bag, another bag was tightened over his head, slowly suffocating him to death. Rader attempted to strangle Julie, later recalling Miss Otero woke up. She was quite upset about what was happening and asked me to save her son. I would imagine so. She was upset. So I removed the bag from her. She screamed, "You killed my son! You killed my son!" After the initial shock and realization, she expressed her remorse, saying, "God have mercy on your soul," before I ended her life permanently.
All right, Mr. Rader, I need to find out more information. On that particular day, the 15th day of January, 1974, can you tell me where you went to kill Mr. Joseph Otero?
I think it's 1834, Edgemore.
All right. Can you tell me approximately what time of day you went there?
Somewhere between 7 and 7:30.
This particular location, did you know these people?
No, that's no, that was part of my I guess my what you call fantasy. These people were selected.
All right, so you
okay.
You were engaged in some kind of fantasy during this period of time?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, when you use the term fantasy, is this something you were doing for your personal pleasure?
Sexual fantasy, sir.
I see. So you went to this residence, and what occurred then?
Well, I had did some thinking on what I was going to do to either Mrs. Otero or Josephine, and basically broke into the house, or didn't break into the house, but when they came out of the house, I came in and confronted the family, and then we went from there.
All right. Had you planned this beforehand?
To some degree, yes. After I got in the house, I lost control of it, but it was, you know, in the back of my mind, I had some ideas what I was going to do, but I basically panicked that first day. So
beforehand, did you know who was there in the house?
I thought Mrs. Otero and the 2 kids the two younger kids were in the house. I didn't realize Mr. Otero was going to be there.
All right. How did you get into the house, Mr. Rader?
I came through the back door, cut the phone lines, waited at the back door, had reservations about even going or just walking away, but pretty soon the door opened and I was in.
All right, so the door opened, was it open for you or did something?
I think one of the kids, I think the junior, or not junior, yes, the young girl, Joseph, opened the door. He probably let the dog out because the dog was in the house at that time.
All right, when you went into the house, what happened then?
Well, I confronted the family, pulled a pistol, confronted Mr. Otero, and asked him to, that I was there to, basically, I was wanted to get the car. I was hungry, food, I was wanted, and asked him to lie down in the living room. And at that time, I realized that wouldn't be a really good idea, so I finally, the dog was the real problem, so I asked Mr. Otero if he could get the dog out. So he had one of the kids put it out. And then I took him back to the bedroom.
You took who back to the bedroom?
The family to the bedroom, the 4 members.
All right, what happened then?
At that time, I tied him up.
While still holding him at gunpoint?
Well, in between tying and yes. Yeah.
All right, after you tied them up, what occurred?
Well, they started complaining about being tied up, and I re-loosened the bonds a couple of times. Tried to make Mr. Otero as comfortable as I could. Apparently had a cracked rib from a car accident, so I had him put a pillow down for his head. Had he put a, I think he Parker or a coat underneath him. They talked to me about giving the car and whatever money. I guess they didn't have very much money, and there I realized that I didn't have a mask on or anything. They already could ID me, and made a decision to go ahead and put him down, I guess, or strangle him.
All right, what did you do to Joseph Otero Sr.?
Joseph Otero?
Yeah,
Okay.
Joseph Otero Sr., Mr. Otero, the father.
I put a plastic bag over his head and then some cords and tightened it.
This was in the bedroom?
Yes, sir.
Did he, in fact, suffocate and die as a result of this?
Not right away. No, sir, he didn't.
What happened?
Well, after that, I did Mrs. Otero. I had never strangled anyone before, so I really didn't know how much pressure you had to put on a person or how long it would take. But
was she also tied up there in the
yes,
bedroom?
yeah, both her hands and their feet were tied up. She was on the bed.
Where were the children?
Well, Josephine was on the bed and Junior was on the floor this time.
So we're talking first of all about Joseph Otero. So you'd put the bag over his head and tied it, and he did not die right away. Can you tell me what happened in regards to Joseph?
He moved over real quick like, and I think tore a hole in the bag, and I could tell that he was having some problems there. But at that time, the whole family just went, they went panicked on me, so I worked pretty quick.
You worked pretty quick.
Well,
what
I mean,
did you do?
I strangled Mrs. Otero, and she went out, or passed out. I thought she was dead. She passed out. Then I strangled Josephine. She passed out, or I thought she was dead. And then I went over and put a bag on Junior's head, and then if I remember right, Mrs. Otero came back. She came back and.
Sir, let me ask you about Joseph Otero Sr. You
Senior?
indicated he had torn a hole in the bag. And what did you do with him then?
I put another bag over it, or either that or if I recollect, I think I put either a cloth or a T-shirt or something over his head, and then another bag, and then tighten it down.
Did he subsequently die?
Well, yes. I didn't just stay there and watch him. Then I was moving around the room. But
all right. So you indicated you strangled Mrs. Otero after you had done this. Is that correct?
now I went back and strangled her again. And that finally killed her at that time.
He's insane.
That
was a direct quote from him. He remembered that so vividly.
He doesn't just, he remembers it every day.
Yeah.
It's what he gets off to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know.
He's just, as a serial killer, I think he's impacted me, like, in my sense of security so significantly, because I mean, as a kid / young man, I would read all about Dennis Rader all the time. Like, I would watch every documentary that came out about him. He interests me. I was interested in true crime, and I think, and anyone who knows me knows I'm an extremely secure person, and I'm like wondering, wow, like, is this where it comes from? Where I let the dog out. I won't let Maddie. I mean, I won't let Maddie, but Maddie knows that she does, like, that I'd rather her not go outside after 10 with the dogs in the backyard. I'm like wondering, when I go to do that, like, I'm so apprehensive. I'm wondering if that's why.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if Dennis Rader had that much of a.
And it makes sense too, because he was still on the loose when we were alive.
Yeah, yeah.
And though we were halfway across the country, it didn't matter. Like, it's like you still have the knowledge that a serial killer was out, and they didn't know who he was yet, which is really terrifying.
For sure.
And especially one this heinous as well. But yeah, that's an interesting theory though.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think he impacted my life a little bit, just reading about him and watching stuff.
Nene telling you that Otis Toole was going to come get you? That might have.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another story for another time.
Yeah. But with both parents deceased, Rader then covered Joey's head with another plastic bag, followed by 2 T-shirts and another bag. He wanted to make sure he was dead.
Oh, yeah.
While he watched him struggle and suffocate. Afterward, Rader led Josie downstairs into the basement, where he hanged her from a pipe using a noose.
Bruh.
Later, police discovered Rader's semen near Josie's partially clothed body. And in October 1974, Rader eventually penned a detailed letter that he concealed inside an engineering book at the Wichita Public Library. So then on April 4th, 1974, he commits another crime. And Rader broke into the Wichita home of Catherine Doreen Bright, a 21-year-old Coleman employee, so another person he worked with.
Yep.
And he forced his way through her screen door, but was surprised to find her 19-year-old brother, Kevin Bright, also in the house.
Yeah.
He dragged Catherine to another room and bound her after forcing Kevin, who was held at gunpoint, to restrain his sister with a rope Rader had given him. When Catherine struggled, Rader attempted to strangle her before stabbing her 3 times in the back and lower abdomen with a knife. Kevin, who was also strangled and shot in the head, miraculously survived and later escaped. However, his sister, whom Rader stabbed to death, did not make it.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and he doesn't stop there. He just gets more confident as it goes on.
Oh, yeah.
And then in October 1974, that was when BTK started making his presence known to the police, if you will. So after a young man confessed to murdering the Oteros, which was not Dennis Rader, it was a copycat who wanted to, which you see sometimes with really heinous crimes, really sick individuals will want to take that notoriety for those crimes. But this was the moment that really pushed Dennis Rader to be like, I want credit for my crimes.
He's like, you didn't do that.
Exactly. But after a young man confessed to murdering the Oteros with 2 accomplices, an editor at the Wichita Eagle received an enigmatic phone call that led him to a mechanical engineering book at the Wichita Public Library, which was where he left the letter. But police discovered a book and a letter wedged inside, which contained a chilling message in part. And it said, "Those 3 men you have in custody are merely attempting to gain publicity. The code words for me are bind them, torture them, kill them, BTK. You see, he has resumed his heinous acts. They will be the next victims."
Yep.
Which is so horrifying. But the letter, which
usually the media gives you the name,
right?
But he's like, "Nya,
no,
it's my name.
It is.
This is my name."
Exactly.
He probably sat there thinking that
well,
out for.
We'll talk about his suggestions. If
His
you will.
suggestions. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the letter that included previously unknown details about the Otero killings is also filed with the authorities later recognized as the killer's unique style of misspellings and grammatical errors, as we will see in this, as well as a distinctive sexually suggestive signature. So have you seen the signature?
I think I have, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like boobs.
Yeah.
And he created it out of the letters BTK. It looks like boobs and an abdomen with like abs and such. It was very distinct.
Yeah, he draws on stuff.
Yeah, he sure does. But on March 17th, 1977, he said he was going to kill again, and boy, did he. Mm-hmm. Shirley Ruth Relford, a 25-year-old woman, was tragically found dead in her home in Wichita. And Rader, who had been pursuing Relford, managed to locate her by following her 5-year-old son to their residence. He didn't care what the means were. But upon entering the house, Rader brandished a handgun, causing immense fear among the family. After securing her 3 children in the bathroom and locking them in, Rader led Relford to the rear bedroom. Relford, before being tied to her bedpost by her legs, vomited. And Rader then strangled her with a rope while covering her head with a plastic bag. At the same time, her children screamed and banged down the hallway. Similar to the Otero murders, Rader intended to murder Relford's children, but they managed to escape before he could carry out his plan. And the children were able to provide a vague description of their mother's murder, and that helped the police in their investigation.
Gotcha. You know, one thing that I've always thought about doing, like as a filmmaker, is I've always wanted to make a movie about him, and I've always pictured Bryan Cranston as playing Dennis Rader.
I mean, I don't know if that would be a compliment to him, but I agree.
He looks so much like him.
He does look.
Oh
like
yeah,
him.
I mean, with a little bit of makeup, dude, he's Dennis Rader.
Yeah, you can make it happen. You just got to bushy up them eyebrows.
Bushy him up.
But yeah, so the next murder would happen on December 8th, 1977. And that was when Rader noticed Nancy Jo Fox, who was a 25-year-old woman, entering her home in Wichita. He identified her as a potential victim and initiated a stalking campaign.
8th day of December 1977 in Sedgwick County, Kansas, that you unlawfully killed a human being, that being Nancy Fox, maliciously, willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation, by strangulation, inflicting injuries from which the said Nancy Fox did die on December 8th, 1977. Can you tell me what you did on that day here in Sedgwick County?
Nancy Fox was another one of the projects. When I was trolling the area, I noticed her go in the house one night. Sometimes I would, anyway, I put her down as a potential victim.
Let me ask you one thing, Mr. Rader. You've used that term when you were patrolling the area. What do you mean by that?
It's called stalking or trolling.
So you were not working in any form or fashion?
Well, I don't know. If you read much about serial killers, they go through what they call the different phases. That's one of the phases they go through as a trolling stage. You're looking for a victim at that time. And that you could be trolling for months or years. But once you lock in on a certain person, then you become stalking. And that might be several of them, but you really home in on that person. They basically become that's the victim. Or that's what you want to be.
You said trolling with a T, not a trolling.
He did say trolling. I thought he said trolling.
Oh, okay.
All right.
No, I wasn't working, sir.
All right.
No, this was off my hours.
All right. So you basically identified Nancy Fox as one of your projects. What happened then?
At first, she was spotted, and then I did a little homework. I dropped by once to check the mailbox to see what her name was, found out where she worked, stopped by there once at Hillsburg, and kind of sized her up. The more I knew about a person, the more I felt comfortable with it. So I did that a couple of times. And then I just selected a night, which was this particular night, to try it, and it worked out.
All right. Can you tell me what you did on the night of December 8th, 1977?
Now, about 2 or 3 blocks away, I parked my car and walked to that residence. Knocked at the door first to make sure, see if anybody was in there, because I knew she arrived home at a particular time from where she worked. Nobody answered the door, so I went around to the back of the house, cut the phone lines. I could tell that there wasn't anybody in the north apartment. Broke in and waited for her to come home in the kitchen.
All right, did she come home?
Yes, she did.
What happened?
I confronted her, told her there I had a problem, sexual problems, that I would have to tie her up and have sex with her. She was a little upset. We talked for a while. She smoked a cigarette. While we smoked a cigarette, I went through her purse, identifying some stuff. And she finally said, well, let's get this over with so I can go call the police. And I said, okay. And she said, can I go to the bathroom? And I said, yes. She went to the bathroom and I told her when she came out to make sure that she was undressed. And when she came out, I handcuffed her. And I don't really remember whether... Sir?
You handcuffed her? You had a pair of handcuffs?
Yes, sir.
What happened then?
Well, anyway, I handcuffed her, had her lay on the bed, and then I tied her feet, and then I was also undressed to a certain degree, and then I got on top of her, and then I reached over, took either her feet were tied or not tied. But anyway, I think I had a belt. I took the belt and then strangled her with a belt at that time.
All right, after you had strangled her, what happened then?
Okay. After I strangled her with the belt, I took the belt off and retied that with pantyhose real tight, removed the handcuffs, and tied those with pantyhose. Can't remember the colors right now. I think I maybe retied her feet, what they hadn't already. They were probably already tied, her feet were. And at that time, masturbated, sir.
All right. Had you had sexual relations with her before?
No. I told her I was, but I did not.
So you masturbated, then what did you do?
Dressed and then went through the house, took some of her personal items and kind of cleaned the house up, went through it, checked everything, and then left.
All right. He's established it was in Sedgwick County. I don't think he was for purposes of this, it's in Sedgwick County. Do you remember the address, Mr. Rader?
Remember the address? Miss Fox.
Oh, Fox? 913 or 903? No, I sure don't. I know it was on Pershing. South Pershing, that's all.
So he liked to stalk them first before he actually, he wasn't rash by any means.
No.
He enjoyed the hunt.
Premeditation.
Yeah. On December 8th, 1977, Rader approached her door but was unsuccessful in getting in. Undeterred, he cut the phone lines and then broke into her kitchen, waiting for Fox to emerge. Her murder, as described by Rader, was a perfect hit. That's how he said it. Despite her verbal...
He's like, one of my finest work.
No, he literally is like that.
I know,
like, he is so
he is.
narcissistic about it. He's so proud.
Narcissistic.
But despite her verbal resistance, she cooperated and didn't fight back.
Wow.
This gave me complete control, which is why it was one of the more enjoyable kills, as I call them. Rader strangled Fox with his belt while she lay on her bed. And before she died, Rader confided in her that he was the perpetrator of the Otero murders. The subsequent day, Rader made a phone call to the police from a payphone informing them that they would find Fox's body at her residence. And the direct quote was, "You will find a homicide at 843 South Pershing," he bluntly stated to the 911 dispatcher.
Dang.
Yeah. Imagine being that 911 dispatcher. Being like, oh my God.
Okay.
But then on January 31st, 1978, the Wichita Eagle received an index card bearing a poem that starts with, Shirley locks, wilt thou be mine?" Unaware of the connection to Shirley Relford, who was a singer, the mail clerk mistakenly forwards the card to the newspaper's classified ads department.
Wow.
And they thought it was just like a Valentine's sort of thing, but they had no idea that that was Dennis Rader being unbelievably creepy. Yeah.
Dang. You know, it's something to call in the homicide you just you just committed?
Yeah.
Like, that's so narcissistic because most serial killers, they let them rot and they get found when someone starts to smell something or when people are looking for them. No, he's like, there it is.
Literally.
He's like, it's like he's almost like hungry to see it in the papers, to see the reaction.
Well, because he was one of the serial killers that actively followed the news and the newspapers. He wanted that notoriety. That was almost as enjoyable for him as the kill was.
Yeah.
To see the fear he caused to the public. And also it really tickled his ego in a nice way for him, in the way that he thought he was smarter than everybody, because he's like, I can literally call in my murder and they don't know it's me.
Exactly.
But then on February 10th, 1978, Rader sent another letter to the Wichita television station KAKE asserting asserting his responsibility for the murders. He proposed several possible aliases, including BTK, which was his first, besides the letter he had put in the library book, this was his first like big public announcement, like I'm BTK. But in the second letter, Rader demanded media attention, posing a question, and his direct quote was, "How many more victims do I need to kill before I gain recognition in the newspaper or receive national attention?" He enclosed a poem titled, "Oh, Death to Nancy."
Oh, Death to Nancy.
So the first poem he sent was about the kill he had just done before Nancy.
Yes.
And then this one, he's just like, yep, I'm going to do another poem for you because you guys aren't getting it, apparently. A parody of the lyrics to the American folk song, Oh Death. Before presenting a list of suggested nicknames, Rader wrote, "Here are some names I've been considering: the BTK Strangler, the Wichita Hangman, and the Asphyxiator." Those were the nicknames. He was like, here's some suggestions of what I'd like to be called.
Wow.
And in this letter, Rader claimed to be driven to commit murders by a supernatural force he called Factor X, which he believed motivated other notorious serial killers like Jack the Ripper, the Son of Sam, and the Hillside Strangler.
I see. It's actually kind of, I always have had a theory that serial killers are afflicted by demonic presences, because I don't quite, I think something that drives my interest is that I can't really comprehend how a person who can speak like me and like Madison are able to actually do these things to people. And so I've always thought, like, sure, there could be this, being a sociopath and a psychopath and all of that, but there also could be something where, upside down cross,
this
freaking guy with the upside down cross book, all of that. I think there could be some demonic presence there.
It's definitely an interesting theory nonetheless.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So it's actually interesting that he said
yeah.
that same thing. Yeah.
But Rader also requested that the police send him a hidden message. He liked to play games. So in response, knowing that the BTK killer was a fan of cake, K-A-K-E, the police decided to subtly convey a message during one of the station's evening newscasts. The message, which appeared for a brief moment, read, "Now call the chief," and featured an upside-down pair of glasses, which had been found at the Fox crime scene.
Jeez.
The police hoped that this message would influence the killer to surrender, but unfortunately it had no effect. Which I think he did that mostly because he wanted to see how much he can control the police.
Yeah.
But Wichita Police Chief Richard Lemoynian subsequently holds a press conference to announce for the first time the presence of the infamous BTK Strangler in the vicinity. He cautions that there is no reason to believe the individual is incapable of committing further acts of violence. And he definitely was capable.
Oh, yeah.
So then on April 28th, 1979, during this period, Rader also intended to kill others, such as Anna Williams, who was 63.
Hold on. He cautions that there is no reason to believe that the individual is capable of committing further acts of violence?
Yeah.
It's the worst. That's the worst.
I think he didn't want to cause public distress. Like, panic.
He's murdered like a bunch of people already.
But they haven't really made that public to the people.
I mean, how big's Wichita? Is it big? Is it like real big? I don't know. I don't know. I feel like anything in Kansas. I mean, I could be just like dumb about this, but I feel like Wichita's
it's a fairly decent sized city. I mean,
if there's so take Savannah, and obviously not a social media, not as much social media back then. I wonder how big Wichita is to Savannah, because if 2 families are brutally murdered here in Savannah, I feel like we would freaking hear about it.
Sure.
Obviously, social media and the amount of media, there is now, that would cause.
I think the police chief was trying to save face for sure.
Probably.
To make the public feel like the police were on it.
Okay. Yeah.
But going back to April 28th, 1979, during this period, Rader also intended to kill others, such as Anna Williams, who was 63, who in 1979 narrowly escaped death by returning home much later than anticipated. Sometimes it pays to be late. But Rader explained during his confession that he became infatuated with Williams and was utterly furious when she managed to evade him. He recalled spending hours waiting at Williams's home, but his patience wore thin and he left when she didn't return from visiting friends. Less than 2 months later, Williams received several of her personal items by mail, accompanied by a poem titled, "Oh, Anna, Why Didn't You Appear?"
He's a creepy dude, man.
How scary.
Oh, that's horrifying. Oh, my God. He's so creepy. My Lord.
Literally.
He's so good at it.
He's the best at being unbelievably creepy. But on August 14th, 1979, authorities released the recording of BTK's phone call from December 1977 to report Nancy Fox's death, seeking public assistance. So they published that 911 call.
Yes, you will find a homicide at 843 South Pershing. Nancy Fox. I'm sorry, sir, I can't understand you. What is the address? 843 South Pershing. That is correct.
Yeah.
Despite numerous tips from listeners who believe they recognize the voice, no significant information emerged from that. And then
that's crazy.
I know,
because you
right?
hear a voice. I feel like you could, someone who knew him probably heard that and was like, "Is that Dennis?"
I feel like
that's
what it could have been, because he called from a payphone. Maybe the payphone was just like really shoddy or something.
I think people probably recognized him, but were also like uncertain, and they were like, "Dennis is such a nice guy. There's no way I'm not going to report him. That's going to be a mess for him."
That would make sense. That would make a lot of sense. That's what I think. But
my 2 cents.
Then in 1984, things got silly. So, in my opinion, the chief, Lamunion, established a task force.
I think it's just Lamunion.
Lamunion.
Madison's trying everything. Like, Lamunion.
I don't know.
Like, honey.
I don't know.
It's
a very strange last name.
It is super strange.
But established a task force dedicated to investigating BTK's crimes, aptly named the Ghostbusters after the Bill Murray movie. I'm like,
wow.
So you're telling me you have one of the most heinous serial killers in American history on your hands, and you're going to create a task force and name it Ghostbusters. Okay.
That's a weird flex, Chief.
It was a really weird flex.
Da-na-na-na-na-na.
And this task force, comprising of a young officer named Ken Landwehr, who will later lead efforts to apprehend BTK, meticulously organized and preserved crucial evidence.
Mm-hmm.
So then on April 27th, 1985, he kills again. And after an evening of bingo and dinner with her boyfriend, 53-year-old Maureen Hedge, was a...
It was a 9 something, sir, but I don't know the other digits. And,
the address, as I said, is really not important as long as you remember it happened here in Wichita, Central County.
Yes, sir.
All right, sir, let's turn to count 8. In count 8, it is claimed that on or about the 27th day of April 1985 to the 28th day of April 1985 in Sedgwick County, Kansas, it is claimed that you unlawfully killed a human being, Maureen Hedge, maliciously, willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation by strangulation, inflicting injuries from which Maureen Hedge did die on April 27, 1985. Can you tell me what occurred on that day?
Well, actually, kind of like the others, she was chosen. I went through the different phases, stalking phase, and since she lived down the street from me, I could watch the coming and going quite easily. On that particular date, I had another commitment. I came back from that commitment, parked my car over at Woodlawn and 21st Street, at bowling alley there at that time. Before that, I dressed until I had some other clothes on, changed clothes. I went to the bowling alley, went in there, the precincts of bowling, called a taxi, had a taxi take me out to Park City, had my kit with me, as a bowling bag.
All right, that was Park City in Sedgwick County,
Yes,
Kansas?
sir.
All right, you had the taxi take you to Park City. What happened then?
There, I pretended that I was a little drunk. I just took some beer and forced it around my mouth, and the guy could probably smell the alcohol on me. I told him to let me out so I could get some fresh air, and I walked from where the taxi let me off over to her house.
All right, where does she live?
62, 42, 54, 6254, 6254, North Independence.
All right, when you walked over there, what happened next?
Well, as before, I was going to have sexual fantasies, so I brought my hit kit, and lo and behold, her car was there. I thought, gee, she's not supposed to be home. So I very carefully snuck into the house, kind of like a cat burglar, and after checking the house, she wasn't there. So about that time, the doors rattled, so I went back to one of the bedrooms and hid back there in one of the bedrooms. She came in with a male visitor. They were there for maybe an hour or so. He left. I waited till wee hours in the morning, and then proceeded to sneak into her bedroom and flip the lights on real quick, like, or I think the bathroom lights. I didn't want to flip her lights on, and she screamed, and I jumped on the bed and strangled her manually.
All right. Now, were you wearing any kind of disguise or mask at this time?
No, no.
You indicated this woman lived down the street from you. Did she know you?
Casually, we'd walk by and wave. She liked to work in her yard as well as I liked to work. It's just a neighborly type thing. It wasn't anything personal. I mean, just a neighbor.
All right, so she was in her bed when you turned on the lights in the bathroom?
Yeah, the bathroom, yeah, so I could get some light in there.
All right, what did you do then?
Oh, I manually strangled her when she started to scream.
So you used your hands?
Yes, sir.
And you strangled her? Did she die?
Yes.
All right, what did you do then?
After that, since I was in the sexual fantasy, I went ahead and stripped her, and probably went ahead and, I'm not sure if I tied her up at that point in time. But anyway, she was nude, and I put her on a blanket, went through her purse, some personal items in the house, figured out how I was going to get her out of there. Eventually moved her to the trunk of the car. Took the car over to Christ Lutheran Church. This is with the older church, and took some pictures of her.
All right, you took some photographs. What kind of camera did you use?
Poor Lord.
Did you keep those photographs?
Yes, the police probably have them.
All right, what happened there?
That was it. She went through, I tied it, she was already dead, so I took pictures of her in different forms of bondage, and that's probably what got me in trouble was the bondage thing. So anyway, that's probably the main thing. But anyway, after that, I moved her back out to the car, and then we went east on 53rd.
All right, what occurred then?
Sir?
What happened then?
Oh, trying to find a place to hide her, hide the body.
Did you find a place?
Yes, yes I did.
Where?
Couldn't tell you without looking at a map, but it was on 53rd, between Greenwich, maybe. What's the other one between Greenwich? Webb. I think between Webb and Greenwich, I found a ditch, a low place on the north side of the road, and hid her there.
abducted from her home on East 53rd Street North in Wichita, Kansas. The location is in the Wichita suburb of Park City, which is just a few blocks from Rader's house.
Yep.
And on April 27th, Rader had killed Hedge and taken her body to Christ Lutheran Church, where he served as the president of the church council.
Jeez.
That's so brazen.
Brazen.
And there he photographed her body in various suggestive positions. Rader had previously stored black plastic sheets and other materials at the church in preparation for the murder and later dumped the body in a remote ditch. 8 days later, on May 5th, 1985, she was found dead by strangulation. However, the police failed to connect her murder to BTK at the time.
Yep. He will literally, years and years and years will pass.
He'll just get away
and then
with
he'll,
it.
And then he'll kill because it dies.
Yeah.
Like the interest dies. So
Right.
he's like, oh yeah, no one's expecting this.
Mm-hmm.
He loves the shock. He loves the fact that he can get away with it because no one's talking about it anymore. It's not
Right.
hot anymore.
Exactly. And on September 16th, 1986, Rader, posing as a telephone repairer, strangled Vicki Lynn Wegler, who was 28, to death in her Wichita home. After the murder, he rearranged her clothes and took nude photographs of her body. And Bill Wegler returned home for lunch to find his 2-year-old son sitting alone in their bedroom and his wife, Vicki, dead.
Wow.
How scary is that? And in the absence of other compelling evidence, Bill, her husband, became the primary suspect in Vicki's death. Not BTK, but
I'm
Bill.
sure. No, I'm sure.
Eventually, obviously, Bill got acquitted and all of that. But
Thank God.
yeah. But then on January 19th, 1991, BTK kills for the last time that we know of.
Yeah.
And so on this night, BTK threw a cinder block through a sliding door at the residence of a retired man and his final victim, Dolores Earline D. Davis, who was 62 years old.
It's not like him, the cinder block.
No, I think he just wanted to try something fun for his last one.
Maybe.
But Rader had previously murdered her on January 19th by strangling her with pantyhose and left her body by a bridge. But it was on February 1st, 1991, when Dolores was discovered dead at West 117th Street North and North Meridian Street in Park City. Apparently, Rader was preoccupied with his daily responsibilities as a Park City compliance officer and father of 2, which led him to cease killing and causing BTK to disappear from the scene. That is until 2004.
Oh, yeah.
And that was when BTK reemerges, I should say, like a cicada. But
not a cicada.
Yeah, kind of is.
He is.
But in January,
Can't tell him. I'm glad he can't listen to this.
I know. Well,
It's like, I'm the cicada killer now.
oh my God. You're not kidding.
It's honestly a dope name, though.
It kind of is, unfortunately. I don't mean to make it sound cool. It's not cool, but he kind of is. So then on January 2004, 3 decades after BTK first terrorized the Wichita community by killing the Oteros, the Wichita Eagle published an article reminiscing about the fear he instilled during the 1970s. Yeah, reminiscent.
Yeah.
Nostalgia of BTK's terror. But ironically, the article prompts Rader to resurrect his infamous alter ego, if you will. So then this is when especially he was like, oh, since they want to talk about me, let me give them some more clues.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he did. And on March 19th, 2004, the Wichita Eagle received an envelope from what was written as Bill Thomas Killman, containing a copy of Vicki Wegler's missing driver's license.
He thinks he's so funny.
He thinks he's
My
so clever.
God.
I know. Photos of her body and BTK's distinctive signature. And the chilling message connected her unsolved murder to BTK and confirmed that the Wichita Terror was still alive. And DNA extracted from beneath Vicki's fingernails provided police with previously unknown evidence. And so in an effort to identify the killer, they initiated DNA testing on hundreds of men. Altogether, over 1,300 DNA samples were collected and later destroyed by court order.
Yep.
So
Yep.
then on May 5th, 2004, he was feeling extra silly goofy. And that's the best way I can describe it, to be honest, because he's just playing games.
He's playing games. Oh, he's just having a great time.
Yeah. So BTK's next outreach he sent to Cake TV, Kake, includes a fake ID, chapter titles for a BTK biography, and a word search grid with clues like prowl and fantasies. However, investigators noticed the absence of his signature. Later, puzzle enthusiasts discovered that the letters RADER are arranged around the number 6220, the author's street address.
Wow.
I wish I was that clever at puzzles. But,
Yeah, no.
but on June 9th, a package was discovered taped to a stop sign at the intersection of First and Kansas roads in Wichita, and the package contained graphic descriptions of the Otero murders and a sketch labeled, "The Sexual Thrill is My Bill." And I think that was his way of hearkening to be like, I am Bill Hillsman.
Yeah.
Which is a dumb name to come up with anyways.
Bill Kilman.
But additionally, the package included a chapter list for a proposed book titled The BTK Story. This book closely resembled a story written in 1999 by Court TV crime writer David Lohr. And chapter 1 of the proposed book was titled A Serial Killer is Born. In July, a package containing bizarre material was dropped into the return slot of a public library. And among the contents was a false claim that BTK was responsible for the death of 19-year-old Jake Allen in Argonia, Kansas, earlier that month. However, this claim was debunked and the death was officially ruled as a suicide.
Yeah.
So then in December 2004, the Wichita police received another package, because he loved doing that, from BTK. This time, the package was discovered in Murdoch Park. A man walking through Murdoch Park stumbled upon a garbage bag containing Nancy Fox's driver's license and a Barbie doll with a plastic bag covering its head, hands, and feet, and bound behind its back.
Yep.
Yeah. So then on January 25th, 2005, day before your birthday.
Yeah, day before my birthday.
Acting on instructions from a postcard mailed to Cake TV, police discovered a cereal box on a road outside Wichita. Inside, they found a graphic description of BTK's first murders and another doll positioned in a death pose. However, it was another section of the postcard that piqued the authorities' interest. This section inquired if the package had been found at the local Home Depot. Investigators discovered that one employee had found a cereal box in the bed of his pickup truck, and so a search of his trash revealed the box and a message asking if BTK could communicate through a computer floppy disk without leaving a trace.
Yep.
If this was possible, the police were instructed to run a newspaper ad with the message, "Rex, it will be okay."
Wow.
Surveillance tape of the parking lot from that date revealed a distant figure driving a black Jeep Cherokee leaving the box in the pickup, which really was the key they needed.
Yeah, that was the key.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So then on January 28th, 2005, after an undercover detective makes arrangements with the Wichita Eagle, the newspaper publishes a classified advertisement that reads, "Rex, everything will be okay. Please contact me at P.O. Box First using the 4 reference numbers as at 67202. 6 days later, BTK confirms his receipt of the message through another postcard sent to Cake. Then on February 16, 2005, that was when the floppy disk situation happened.
Floppy disk.
And in February 2005, Cake received more postcards and another cereal box containing a bound doll, and that was discovered in a rural location. And in his letters to the police addressed to cybercop Randy Stone, Rader inquired if his writings, if stored on a floppy disk, could be traced. The police responded to his query in a newspaper advertisement published in the Eagle, assuring him that it would be safe to use the disc. He's like,
sure.
Yeah, we're going to trace it. But then on February 16, 2005, Rader sent a purple 1.44 megabyte Memo Rex floppy disk to the Wichita station KSAS TV.
KSAS.
KSAS TV. Accompanying the disc were a letter, a gold-colored necklace with a large medallion, and a photocopy of the cover of Rules of Prey, a 1989 novel by John Sanford about a serial killer. Police discovered metadata embedded.
This guy's like, me.
Literally.
Me.
Like, he can't stop being like,
me.
It's almost like nauseating.
He's not even killing at this point. He's just like he's just enjoying it.
Literally.
It's like the thrill.
It's just, it really is. It's almost nauseating. Not that his crimes weren't nauseating, but his like just thrill of himself is just annoying at this point.
Bruh, narcissistic.
And so police discovered metadata embedded in a deleted Microsoft Word document that, unbeknownst to Rader, was still stored on the floppy disk. And the metadata includes the words Christ Lutheran Church, and the document was last modified by Dennis. A search on the internet revealed that a Dennis Rader held the position of president of the church council. And furthermore, when investigators approached Rader's residence, they noticed a black Jeep Cherokee parked outside, the same type of vehicle featured in the surveillance footage from Home Depot. This strong circumstantial evidence against Rader was insufficient to warrant a direct arrest, but to secure a warrant, the police obtained a pap smear from Rader's daughter at the Kansas State University Medical Clinic. And DNA tests revealed a familial match between the pap smear and a sample from Wegler's fingernails. This indicated a close familial relationship between the killer and Rader's daughter. Combined with the other evidence, this new information was sufficient to warrant Rader's arrest.
Oh, yeah.
So then, March 25th, 2005, Rader is arrested.
Most important item was a note that began, "Can I communicate with floppy and not be traced to a computer? Be honest." The document went on, asking police to place a newspaper ad reading, "Rex, it will be okay," if a floppy disk would indeed be untraceable. The police ran the ad, fully intending to trace the disk. Police also examined the Home Depot security footage, coming to believe the cereal box had been left by a man driving a black Jeep Grand Cherokee. 2 weeks after police placed the requested newspaper ad, a package arrived from BTK at a local news station. The package included a floppy disk. The floppy disk contained one file that stated, "This is a test." But it was what BTK didn't mean to include on the floppy disk that changed the course of history. Tracing the disk, police found that it had been used at the Park City Library and Christ Lutheran Church. They were also able to determine that the document was created by someone named Dennis. A quick web search revealed the name of the congregation president at Christ Lutheran Church, Dennis Rader. Officers then scoped out the suspect's driveway and found a black Jeep Grand Cherokee. Further, a DNA sample from a pap smear Rader's daughter had previously was subpoenaed and compared to DNA gathered from one of BTK's murders. The test proved she was the daughter of the man investigators were looking for. On February 25th, 2005, Dennis Rader was arrested. Rader tried to act innocent, but it wasn't long before he began confessing in full to the 10 murders he had committed over the years.
Bye-bye.
Rader, on his way home from the office to have lunch with his wife, acting like he's a good husband, was pulled over by a line of police cars and taken into custody. An officer asked, "Mr. Rader, do you know why you're headed downtown?" Rader replied, "Oh, I have suspicions about that." The Wichita Police and the Kansas Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, and ATF agents searched Rader's home and vehicle, seizing evidence such as computer equipment, a pair of black pantyhose found in a shed, and a cylindrical container. They also searched Christ Lutheran Church, Rader's office, and the main branch of the Park City Library. After being confronted with DNA evidence, BTK confessed. He seemed to enjoy what he thought was a bonding session with the law enforcement agents, although he was clearly irritated that Landwehr had lied to him about the security of computer disk communications.
Well, yeah.
Well,
and he thinks it's a bonding session because they're probably like, oh, tell us how you did it. Like this, that, the other. You're confessing. And he's like,
I'd love to.
I've been waiting for, you've been dreaming about this moment.
Yes. The following day, BTK's arrest was announced at Wichita City Hall, drawing applause from the audience that gathered, and Wichita Police Chief Norman Williams declared the bottom line, BTK is arrested.
Woo!
Then February 28th, 2005, Rader was charged with 10 counts of first-degree murder.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after, the Associated Press reported an anonymous source claiming that Rader had confessed to additional murders beyond those he had been linked to. However, the Sedgwick County District Attorney dismissed the story without confirming or denying whether Rader had made any confessions or if investigators were investigating his potential involvement in unsolved killings. March 1st, 2005, Rader's bail was set at a whopping $10 million, and a public defender was appointed to represent him. On May 3rd, the judge entered not guilty pleas on Rader's behalf, as Rader remained silent during his arraignment. He completely was like, oh yeah. And so April 19, 2005, Rader waives his right to a preliminary hearing, which is very odd for a case like this.
No, seriously.
The scheduled hearing concludes after a brief duration marked by the defense's acknowledgement that the state has sufficient evidence to proceed in trial. 2 weeks later, a stoic Rader presents himself before the judge, who enters a not guilty plea on his behalf. Then June 27, 2005, Rader finally pleads guilty to the BTK killings. Catching prosecutors off guard by pleading guilty to 10 counts of first-degree murder, Rader provided the court with explicit details on how he meticulously selected, stalked, and ultimately killed each of his victims.
He knew he was caught,
Yeah.
and he was like, so this is everything I know y'all are super interested.
Literally. His lawyer later explained that they opted for the guilty plea due to the overwhelming evidence against their client and the lack of solid...
When the lawyer gives up, bro.
Yeah, he was like... He's like, you're so screwed. I'm so...
Lawyers never give up.
No, they try anything.
This is the only one that I like have heard of where a lawyer's like, listen, dog.
Like, you should just plead guilty.
Yeah.
But, so... His lawyer did that, and it was because of the lack of solid legal grounds to pursue an insanity defense, because he wasn't insane in that way.
No.
He knew exactly what he was doing.
Damon.
And after his capture, Rader confessed during his interrogation that he had been planning another murder, setting a specific date for October 2004, and continuing to stalk his intended victim. That month, in October 2004, a manila envelope was dropped into a UPS box in Wichita, and inside, it contained numerous cards featuring disturbing images of children in bondage, a poem threatening the life of the lead investigator, Lieutenant Ken Landwehr, and a false autobiography filled with details about the life of the notorious serial killer Dennis Rader.
Goodness.
Those details were later made public. And then July 26, 2005, just if you want to know what happens with his wife, Rader's wife was granted an emergency divorce.
Yeah, emergency.
Yeah, waiving the normal 60-day waiting period.
Amen.
Yeah, but on August 18, 2005, the 2-day sentencing hearing commenced with testimony from investigators who detailed Rader's meticulous documentation of his torture-fueled sexual fantasies. Subsequently, victims' families delivered statements followed by a rambling 30-minute monologue from Rader, which the prosecutor compared to an Academy Awards acceptance speech. Notably, Rader expressed his sincere hope that the families would eventually find it in their hearts to forgive him.
Oh, fuck off.
Literally, so...
Get out of here.
So gross.
Oh,
it's like...
the smallest violin in the world is playing.
Yeah. Ew. It's so gross. I hate that.
Bruh.
But his statement has been described as an illustration of a frequently observed phenomena among psychopaths, their inability to comprehend the emotional nuances of language. And having committed his murders before Kansas reinstated the death penalty in 1994, the BTK killer was sentenced to 10 consecutive life terms in prison with a minimum of 175 years without the possibility of parole. So he wasn't eligible for the death penalty because it wasn't.
They never are. No. Why do we even have the death penalty if we're not going to use it on animals like that?
Right. And so on August 19th, Rader was transferred to the El Dorado Correctional Facility, which you can see on his letters. That is where it's coming from. And during the 40-minute drive to El Dorado, Rader engaged in conversations about seemingly innocuous topics such as the weather. However, his composure faltered when he heard the victim's family's emotional statements during the court proceedings broadcast on the radio. He is now confined to solitary for his protection with 1 hour of exercise daily and showers 3 times a week. This likely will persist until his death, and initially in 2006, Rader was granted access to television and radio, as well as reading magazines and other privileges in exchange for good behavior.
Bruh. No.
And then, to just stroke his ego a little bit more, February 22nd, 2019, Rader, writing to the Daily Mail, boasts about his privileged treatment within the high-security El Dorado Correctional Facility. He asserts that he was possessed by demons named Batter and Factor X.
Batter and Factor X, interesting.
When he committed his crimes, even claiming to have come close to executing an 11th retirement victim. Following the publication of his daughter Carrie's book, he expressed his affection for her. He probably found that honoring in a way.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he's like, oh, that's my child.
That's my girl.
Yeah. And on July 21st, 2023, in a letter to Fox News Digital, Rader draws parallels between himself and Gilgo Beach murder suspects Rex Humerman, linking him to a clone of myself, his direct quote, due to the striking similarities between their cases, which I don't personally...
There's no similarities.
I agree.
There's like, there are men who killed women. That's about it. I'm trying to think. They both had black cars.
Right.
I mean, one killed women of the night, and one killed the all-American family / just random women that he wanted to kill. There's absolutely no
I thought it was
similarities.
Weird too, but I think that might just be him being like, I've influenced modern serial killing.
Yeah, maybe how he was caught. Maybe he can find something. I don't know. No, that's
weird.
Stupid.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
But Humerman was apprehended that very month and is now facing charges of murdering 7 women, and eventually we'll cover him as well.
I'm going to ask him that in the letter.
Yeah, why do you think you and the Go-Go Beach murderer
He probably gets so many letters, yo.
Probably. But and then on August 23rd, 2023, Rader is named a prime suspect in 2 unsolved cases.
Yeah.
So police in Osage County, Oklahoma have announced that Dennis Rader is the prime suspect in 2 unsolved murders that occurred in Oklahoma and Missouri. And during a search conducted at a location where Rader's former home once stood, authorities discovered bondage materials and other items of interest that may be linked to the crimes. Dennis Rader is suspected of the disappearance of Cynthia Kinney from Oklahoma in 1976 and the death of Shauna Beth Garber, whose body was found in Missouri in December 1990. Cynthia Dawn Kinney was a 16-year-old girl who was last seen in Osage, Oklahoma on June 23, 1976 at the Osage Laundromat. Witnesses reported that she left the laundromat at 9:30 a.m. and entered a faded beige 1965 Plymouth Belvedere. And in 2023, Osage Sheriff Eddie Virden revealed that Clyde Barrow, also known as Bonnie Parker, had been identified as a prime suspect in Kinney's disappearance. This was determined after it was discovered that Barrow had been involved in Boy Scout events in the area and that he had included the phrase Bad Wash Day in his writings. A bank was also having new ADT alarms installed across the street from the laundromat when Kinney went missing, and at the time, Rader was a regional installer for ADT.
Yeah.
Additionally, Rader had allegedly confessed to fantasizing about kidnapping a girl from a laundromat.
Wow.
Rader
definitely.
I think he did it personally.
Yeah.
Rader has consistently denied any involvement in the murder, but Virden believes that Rader's denial is likely due to the possibility of being tried in Oklahoma and the potential death penalty.
We can only hope.
Yeah. So then September 5th, 2023, police announced that they have they possibly identified another victim of Rader, and that one was also in Osage County. So Osage County Sheriff Eddie Virden informed CNN that his team has possibly identified a young woman depicted in one of Dennis Rader's color sketches. This woman, bound and gagged in a barn, is believed to have originated from southeast Kansas and vanished in 1991. With the assistance of public tips, the police intended to conduct follow-up interviews that may aid in connecting Rader to the other crimes committed in Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri.
He's really the gift that keeps on giving, doesn't he?
Boy, is he. He was cleared in the Garber case, though. The McDonald County Sheriff's Office has exonerated Rader from any involvement in the death of Shauna Beth Garber. Yeah.
Wow.
He's like, I did a lot, but I didn't do that. So after reviewing testimony from 6 corroborated sources and the testimony of a new witness, the police have identified Talfie Reeves, who passed away at the age of 58 in 2021, as the perpetrator. And just for a little fun fact, they did do a psychology evaluation on him.
Oh, really? A psychological evaluation. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So just interesting little factoid.
Yeah.
So Massachusetts psychologist Robert Mendoza was retained by Rader's public defenders to conduct a psychological evaluation and assess the feasibility of an insanity-based defense. Yeah.
Get out of here.
Following Rader's guilty plea on June 27, 2005, Mendoza conducted an interview with him. Mendoza diagnosed Rader with narcissistic, obsessive-compulsive, and antisocial personality disorders. He observed that Rader had an inflated sense of self-importance, believing himself to be special and entitled to special treatment, which we all can tell. And so,
not surprising.
Right. He also noted a pathological need for attention and admiration, as well as a preoccupation with maintaining strict order and structure. Notably, Mendoza found a complete absence of empathy in Rader, and the videotape of Mendoza's interview was featured on NBC's Dateline. However, NBC's claim that Rader was aware of the potential televised broadcast was contradicted by the Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office. And during his sentencing statement, Rader mentioned the interview. So that's probably why he wasn't allowed to get the insanity plea.
Yeah.
I don't think they would have gone for it anyways, but they probably had to rule it out because it was televised.
Sure.
So on October 25th, 2005, the Kansas Attorney General filed a lawsuit against Mendoza and Tolly Waters, co-owners of K-Bridge Forensic Consultants, LLC, alleging breach of contract. The Attorney General claimed that Mendoza and Waters intended to profit financially from the use of information obtained through their involvement in Rader's defense. And on May 10th, 2007, Mendoza settled the case for $30,000 without admitting any wrongdoing. And just to wrap us up, a little bit about his daughter, if you want to read her book. She is an interesting story on her own. But in an interview with ABC News in 2019, his daughter Carrie expressed her forgiveness for her father and revealed that she writes to him.
Yeah.
And however, she still grapples with reconciling her normal childhood with the fact that she was raised by the BTK Killer. Notably, in the 2024 Crime Con in Nashville, Tennessee, Carrie shared excerpts from her father's journal that exposed his sexual abuse of her when she was a young girl.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. And she also penned a memoir titled A Serial Killer's Daughter that delves into her father's life and her upbringing. So it's a really fascinating book if that's something you want to hear more about from her perspective.
But acting like she wants to read it.
I am going to read it. So
all right, so we're gonna do the ratings pretty quick. It's pretty cut dry. He's evil. He's a wicked son of a bitch. Because we are going to read these letters soon. That's the grand finale of this entire episode. So brutality 10, 1,000%, 10 across the board with 10
across the board.
Premeditation 10 because again he just wasn't this disorganized serial killer. He premeditated everything. His motive is a 10. Narcissism, the notoriety. He wanted to hear about himself. He wanted to hear how much he could shock the community. He really preyed upon Wichita, which is just, incredible. In a bad way. Difficulty of investigation. Now, this is the one I was trying. So I was going back and forth 9 and 10, 9 and 10, because obviously the dude made it super hard for cops to find. They couldn't find him for decades. He got away with this. And he was patient. And it's just unbelievable. And I think his patience warrants the 10 I'm giving him, even though the floppy disk was a flop for him. I feel like there's a possibility that he might have, I don't know, but included his information in that because I think he wanted it to come to light. He didn't want to die thinking
nobody knows.
Knows it's me. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. But I'm giving him a 10. Body count, I'm giving him an 8, mainly because there's kids. I believe there's more. And kids always warrant a little bit more in my mind because you're not only taking a life that's, maybe 40, 50 years old, you're taking a life before it even gets to live. So, and have those experiences like college and whatnot. So I'm going to give him an 8 on that. Bam.
So I was also all 10s across the board except for body count. For body count, I gave him a 9, and mine was for a very similar reason. So though in theory he doesn't have the highest body count like someone like Samuel Little or other serial killers that are in those really, really high body count numbers, I do give him a 9 because of the fact that he affected people's lives even if he didn't kill them. So, like, for instance, with the Otero family, leaving the 3 older children to find their whole family brutally massacred, you're ruining someone's life by doing that.
Yes.
Like, they're never going to come back from that situation, in my opinion.
No.
Mentally, at least. And then, other people where he let the person live, or with the one woman where he left because she didn't show up early enough, and then he made sure to instill fear in her. He affected so many people, and honestly, he affected that whole community for decades, instilling such brutal fear that their family just might be taken off the face of the earth on any given moment.
Yeah.
That ranks pretty high, even if he
Absolutely.
didn't necessarily take their life. So,
all right. Y'all, he earned himself a 9.7, which I think
I think that might be our highest.
I thought we got a 9.75. We've done a bunch of these, but
yeah.
I think that might be our highest.
Yeah, I mean,
he is a full-blown animal, so,
Right.
All right, let's read some letters.
Yeah, but before we read that, make sure to put your rankings down below in the comments. If you're listening on Spotify or on YouTube, you can do the full breakdown, or you can just give us your overall ranking. But do make sure to tell us what you think.
All right, so this is, I won't read the guy's name and address, who he addressed it to, but basically, this is Dennis Rader, KDoc008377, C/O, EDCF. Guess all the stuff that he has to put. In parentheses, B2-215, P.O. Box 311, El Dorado, Kansas, 6704, something or other, -0311.
He put that whole zip code in there.
Sure did.
He said, I did the full thing. Nobody puts the whole zip
No.
code like that, but
No.
nonetheless, I guess.
All right.
Oh my God.
Here we go.
There's a doodle.
There is a doodle. All right, y'all. This is what so for everyone listening, it's kind of crazy to think that a man who did the horrible, horrible things that he has done touched and pinned this paper.
Right.
And I'm touching it right now. It's crazy. And you're about to hear the words from his own mouth.
Wow.
Unbelievable. All right. So, we got the Kansas Pisces, but Kansas is spelled with a C. My God. All right, I think he probably meant that.
He probably did.
There's no way. The Kansas Pisces, and he spelled Kansas with a C, and
It's a fish.
Yep, and there's a fish like a Pisces. He's blowing air bubbles, and the fish has sharp teeth.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's got razor sharp teeth.
He's got razor sharp teeth. He's a happy fish, and he's smiling with razor sharp teeth. Is that not Dennis Rader AF?
Yeah, it really is.
There's a star down below, and there's a couple stars down below, and it almost looks like a puzzle, to be honest.
It kind of does. It looks coded.
There's some seaweed, and on top of the 2 pieces of seaweed, there are the numbers 8 and 2, which is very strange.
Yeah.
And then he wrote, hold on. He wrote, okay, so y'all, this is I'm gonna put a photo of this letter up, obviously, so you're seeing this. But if you're listening, it looks like he put a bunch of weird numbers and letters. So you have P22062317. You have P.1 over
page 1 out of 1.
Page 1 out of 1. Okay, it's page 1 out of 1. Okay, that's it. Monday, the first Friday, is that what he's going for? 06/23/17. No, that's the date. So Monday afternoon. Is it Monday afternoon? No, I don't know. This is crazy. It's M01
No, that's
Friday. I don't know. We gotta
idea.
keep moving. BS 170101 Kansas KS from Dennis Rader. Oh, there he goes. Everything I just read. Dennis Rader,
number.
all of that. El Dorado, Kansas, all that. 2, Bradrick. No, his name's Brad. And his address. And we got. All right. Let's see. This is gonna be tough. Do you know what he's saying there?
Here, so
what is that?
It's
the hell is that?
Here.
Pentagon? Nephran?
So.
Undated.
Yeah.
Undated.
He wrote it in the PM on May 24th of 2017.
2017.
And
Page 1 over 1.
yeah.
Okay.
And so, dear Mr.
No, don't read it last
yeah.
name. Mr. S.
Yeah, Mr. S. Friday PM. Sorry about delay. Back to you. Rev, you're better. Read your letter.
Read your letter
on 5/31/2017. I did that. A very squiggly thing. My thing interesting in your letter, me can share. If remember everybody, he does have a really bad problem with grammar and spelling.
I know,
is
Lord.
noted. So
Mom did mention this.
Yeah.
Hold on. All right.
If you write back,
expand your interests and hobbies.
In my hobbies, just can
go from there.
Me can go from there.
Okay. I wrote L
dash M
/MU.
Yeah.
I hope that connects last 06/03/2016 and to fan as I can tell. I'm sorry, y'all. This doesn't make any sense. I apologize. We're just reading a serial killer's letter.
That poem Kevin wrote.
Okay, back.
It was my own letter. My second letter to that person. There was a lot of talk.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of talk, but no walk on that person's letter about
dated 5/26/16. Same things you stated in your letter. All in the game. Thanks for writing. I'm beginning to downsize, and that convo
is quickly
2018 to 2019. I doubt you make the short list, but you might surprise me. Best, his signature, Dennis L. Rader, 06/23/17. No endorsers. P.S. The only
EL I can
find
is a punishment MO.
He's speaking in riddle. He's speaking in riddle. He has to be.
Could be a different CC. Like he's so also I should mention he wrote this out like an email. So he said could be a different CC as in like an email. PSS tell CL/MU you like back to write back.
Okay. All right. Sorry that was so unintelligible.
That's about as intelligible
while we're reading this, obviously the letter is up for everyone's own interpretation.
Yeah, you can watch it and read with us.
So he did the exact same thing for this one, like date wise. I'm opening this now. This is the second letter. Hopefully it's a little more. Oh, there's a picture.
I liked
cool.
his drawing. That was kind of fun.
All right. To Andrew from Dennis, a really strange symbol that looks like a 6 and then has, what is that, D and R? He's nuts, y'all.
Yeah, he
He's
really is.
fucking crazy. 092316. All right, so here's the photo. It is a circle, and it is colorful, and it looks like he is drawn Caves Pisces Seal, Pisces Flashy, ARL, TEP, TEP. So I feel like this is all just riddles. Art by Dennis Rader.
Yeah.
All right. And then there's Pisces Flashy again, another whale this time. Or no, that's probably a fish. And it has razor sharp teeth, and there's a lightning bolt going
this
through
time.
it.
Yay, lightning.
Yeah. Woo. All right, so here we go. All right. A2/3, Saturday, 12:05:15. Started on 2014 poetry to you. If you like full ghosts, schools.
If you like full ghost, 8.5 by 11.
8.5 by 11. This is on a small piece of paper.
Yeah.
So that's that. I don't know. It has to reference that. Let me know. How free, but one can work out a fund. Barter a deal, not, then he scratched some stuff out, color, just photocopy of the muster.
I think he's talking about his art.
Yeah, that's got to be it. Nut, I'm not getting gave, how you get up your, I mean, this is insane, collection, but be real careful in any backdoor trading. The facility is always on the witch hunt for anything that shows up in the net. Thus, they will, I think, probably like
strip
our correspondence, your letter file name. Answer a few of your questions. Oh, to answer a few of your questions, 9/18/15 letter, return plus envelope. That's nice. That was nice to type on your computer and print it out. Easy to read and understand. Wish I could do that. I wish you could too.
I really wish you could too.
The general population has access to component typewriters. The cell house I'm in doesn't allow that. Been working all day on your letter.
Off and on.
Gut. Something almost home. Time to relax. Had that. It's that word again. Gauss. Had something share early. Maybe it's a name.
Yeah.
Share early. Hamburgers plus fries. Coming. Smiley face. We'll eat up. Tidy up. Watch. TEM. Tim. Firming. Gut evening. Entertainment. And then there's something on the back.
Also spelled incorrect. Entertainment.
All right, there's something on the back here. Everybody relaxes on the weekend. Thanks again for
finding
funds. Oh, he sent him money.
Oh.
Thanks again for funds, letters, and cards. The best. Greason.
The best sport.
Denny. 12/5/2015. There's another fish. He likes fish. It's the Pisces
shrimp.
thing. Is it a shrimp?
I think it's a shrimp with a hat.
No, that looks like a fish with a red eye. I don't know.
It's
P.S. Sorry about my handwriting. you learn it after a while. Don't give up.
Jeez. At least he's self-aware about that. Jeez Louise.
And there you have it, folks. So
My
all of
God.
that will get posted, and we appreciate you for sticking with us. That was a lot.
That was hard.
That was hard. That was
Like,
difficult.
I mean, like, I've seen some bad handwriting, but that was next level bad.
Almost unintelligible.
Yeah.
So, okay.
But
well, again, if you're listening, anywhere you're listening to this, you should be able to switch it over to video mode, like Spotify and YouTube, Apple Podcasts. I think they might have that. I'm not sure. But we are uploading a video for all of this. So sorry if that was a little confusing. I hope you're able to read it.
Decipher.
Decipher it a little bit better. We did it live because we didn't realize the handwriting would be that bad. So we didn't look at it because we wanted honest reactions. I think that it was very tame because he's not allowed to write about other things.
Right.
Yeah.
But
all right, end us out.
All right. Well, thank y'all.
We got more coming.
Yes. Thank y'all so much for listening to today's episode. And again, we have a whole stack of letters that we have acquired from various serial killers. So we're going to be going through that through the next few weeks. And if you want to see these letters on display, along with some other artifacts that are very true crime heavy, including this blood book, you can come see it at the Paranormal Museum. And that's going to be here in Savannah, Georgia. So if you're in the area, definitely come check it out. But with that, y'all, my name is Madison Higgins.
I'm Turkey Tom.
And don't forget, next time you're walking through Wichita, you might just be passing another BTK.